Do I need to use anything other than Foliage Pro for my baby diamond starer in Leca? Christy, this is a loaded question. We might be here for a while. Probably. Probably you do. And it entirely depends on where you live, what the quality of your water is like, and what kind of outcome you're looking for your plants. So I'll explain. So for example, I live in Melbourne, Australia, and Melbourne, Australia has got like one of the best water qualities in the world. And that is just the truth. When I get my water from the tap and I check the amount of total dissolved solids, and by total dissolved solids, it's, calcium, magnesium, all the minerals and bits that are actually dissolved in the water that you probably can't see. Chlorine, chloramine, all the stuff that they put in to make the water drinkable for us, all that stuff. When you test the water in Melbourne, it comes to about 30 ppm, parts per million. So in some parts of the world, this goes up to 1,500, whatever, which starts to make that water not so very great for hydroponics because it interferes with the processes of actually getting the nutrients to the plants. So what you're wanting to start off with is good water. That's the first thing. So I don't know what quality your water is there where you are, Christy. So that's the first thing I want to know. What's the quality of your water? What's the total dissolved solids of your water? What's the pH of your water? So when I take my water here in Melbourne of 30 ppm, which is great, by the way, so I know I don't need to filter my water. I don't need to use reverse osmosis water. I don't need to use distilled water because the amount of particles in my water is fabulous. The next thing is I'll get my Foliage Focus. So you use Foliage Pro. I think Foliage Pro is a single one. So this is what I use. I use Foliage Focus, which is also a single bottle. You don't need anything else. It's not like general hydroponics where you've got the 3 parts. This is just 1 part. So I get my 30 ppm water here in Melbourne. I dilute that. I put my Foliage Focus in there. And when I check the pH of that, so this is great. My water is great. I mix them together. I check the pH. It lies within the range of 5.5 to 6.5 every single time. And when I started using Leca, when I started doing semi-hydroponics, this is all I was using. And I used that for a couple of years. It was the only thing I was using for a couple of years. Now, and that's worked really, really well for me. It did. But when you're using hydroponics, you've got your primary nutrient, which is this, but you can have additives. And again, that depends on the guaranteed analysis of your nutrient solution. So over here is where they list what's in that. So this one's got so much nitrogen, so much phosphorus, so much calcium. So depending on how much of the micronutrients you've got in there, you might find that you actually need to supplement that. So for example, and usually one of the things you need to supplement is silica. So if you don't have a lot of silica in your primary nutrient, which would be your Foliage Focus or your Foliage Pro, you might want to use some silica. So I use something like this. So sometimes I put that in. Remember, I never used this earlier in my semi-hydro career. And sometimes I don't use it all the time. But using silica is definitely something that is recommended for most people. Most people do. And usually it's diluted before you put any of the primary nutrient or the other additives. So you put your silica in there and you mix up with your water and you let it sit for however long the instructions are on your silica and you go from there. What else can you add? Again, depending on the kind of water that you're using. So for example, if your water is really, really bad, like I know my friend Allison, the long-winded Leca lady, her water in Michigan is really, really bad. So she uses reverse osmosis water or filtered water. I could be wrong, but I think it's reverse osmosis water, I think. So the calcium and the magnesium is generally stripped out of that. That process of purifying the water removes some of those things. So you want to put them back because the plant needs the calcium. The plant needs the magnesium, all the other bits. So you then start doing things like that. So you might want to put your CalMag in there. This particular CalMag has got other stuff in there. It's got fulvic and humic acids and all sorts of other stuff that are additives that make the environment that your plant is living in so much better, so much easier for the plant to absorb what it needs, and everything that it needs is there. So there's so many other things you can add in. Another thing, stuff like this. So you've got here your beneficial bacteria, your beneficial mycorrhiza, and all that is helping with your root health, helping with absorption of the nutrients by the roots. So yeah, we could be here all day talking about all this kind of stuff. So yeah, the short answer is probably not. You probably want to put a little bit more than just your Foliage Pro if you really, really want to get good results with your plants and give them everything that they need. But of course, the first thing you really need to know is the kind of water that you're dealing with, and then kind of go from there. I hope that helps. It was a lot, I know. There's a lot if you really want to take things to the next level. But like I said, when I started, all I used, hang on, where'd I put it? All I used was that. That is all I used. And then of course, then I started thinking, oh, hang on, what would happen if I put some calcium, hang on, what would happen if I put some silica? My plants might, become a bit more disease resistant. They might become a bit more robust. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to try using that. I learn about that. I incorporate that into my practice, and away I go. So it kind of baby steps, and you kind of start adding more things as you get deeper into the hobby, get deeper into understanding what semi-hydroponics is. And then it's not so hard. Instead of telling people from the very beginning, oh, you need this, and you need that, and you need that, and you need that, and then people get scared and they run off. But once you get into it slowly and start to really understand why you're doing what you're doing, it's so easy, and it's not a chore at all.